Hello everyone. Today we are going to analyze the budget 2026, which is also considered as a blueprint for India's vision of Viksit Bharat. This annual financial statement is inspired by three kartavya. So what these three kartavya are, but before starting to those and talking about in detail what all these three kartavya and where the government specially focus in this year's budget, what are the sectors where the government specially want to make changes in the economic scenarios. Let's discuss firstly what is the global scenario that is going on. If we talk about the global scenario or the global environment, because of the huge tariffs imposed by the US government, especially after when the Trump became the president, so all over the world economies are currently focusing on trade protectionism, then weaken multilateralism, disrupted global supply chain, and continuous increasing demand for energy and critical mineral. Out of all these, if we compare Indian economy with the other economies of the world, where the other economies are not growing that much with that strong pace, Indian economies show a phenomenal growth. And what are the major reasons why India is showing this phenomenal growth, and what are the policy approaches of the government? There are three special policy approach. The first one is reform over rhetoric. Now, what is that reform over rhetoric? Government saying that we are not depending, or we are not just announcing the slogans or doing the promises. We actually make the structural reforms and will do the policy changes, so that those structural reforms will lead to the overall development of our country, and obviously the sign of economic growth will be felt by the respected citizens of our nation. Second is action over ambivalence. Now, what is this action over ambivalence? It talk about decisive and timely policy related decisions. So earlier what used to be happen, government announces a particular policy and the execution or decision of that policy takes a lot of time. So here the government is saying this thing, that whatever we are focusing, we will announce the policy and we will start working on it. And if you analyze this thing, especially in infrastructure part, from last 2-3 years, whatever the plans and policies announced by the government, the execution is comparatively very fast if we compare it in the previous times. Third is people over populism. Now, what is that? It talk about that rather than just making the promises to the people or just focusing on giving them short-term benefits, the policies should aim for long-term welfare, and that long-term welfare can be achieved by making people empowered. And how the people get empowered? When the government announce those policies and execute those laws that will lead to overall development, and especially the youth, on which the budget is presently focusing on. Especially if you know that our finance minister says that this budget is basically driven through Yuva Shakti. So that is the reason these three policy approaches make India, what we can say, make India more better or having a good growth trajectory in comparison to its competitors or in comparison to other nations. Moving forward, that's what I'm talking about. These three kartavya. These three kartavya are the core of the budget. Our whole budget is inspired by these three kartavya. So the first kartavya is accelerate and sustained economic growth. Now, economic growth, if it is like for 1 year it is going at 8-9%, then again it should fall to 4%. That is not a actually sustained accelerate growth. So what our finance minister and what this budget told is that we need a kind of economic growth that should be accelerated and sustained. Remember this thing, there is a word that is sustained. That means we are focusing on this economic growth not for this year, but for 2027, 2028 as well. That means that economic growth which make Indian economy competitive, long-term economic growth, and also because of all these things that is going in world over uncertainties, India should become a resilient economy. And how this economy, our economy will become resilient, we should focus on 6 key areas. What are these 6 key areas? The first is strategic and frontier manufacturing. As you all are aware of this thing, that India wants to become a developed nation by 2047. And to achieve this developed nation status, we need to have a huge, we need to have a latest modern manufacturing techniques so that the overall contribution of manufacturing in GDP should increase. And that is the reason, to enhance our manufacturing things, we launched many schemes like PLI scheme, or focusing on Make in India, self-reliant, Atmanirbhar Bharat. All these things are focusing on developing this manufacturing part only. And if this manufacturing part gets stronger, it also enhances our exports and reducing the overall dependency on imported products. So the first thing is strategic and frontier manufacturing. That means not manufacturing only those things that fulfilling the demand of the people only. We should focus on those things as well that is the demand of the whole world, like semiconductors, like what we can say artificial intelligence kind of things. All these things are the whole world is looking for these things. So India is focusing on developing its making its defense more stronger, make manufacturing those items, those things which is demanding in whole world. Second is revival of legacy industrial cluster. India is known from its legacy industries right from the last many years. Why? Because leather industry, textile industry, gems and jewelry industry, these are the core Indian industries, and these industries, the products of these industries have a huge demand in foreign market as well. So government is focusing on revival of these legacy industrial cluster. The third one is creation of champion MSME. As you all are aware of this thing, MSMEs are considered as the engine of economic growth. So government is focusing on these micro, small and medium enterprises by making them availability of funds, availability of credit, by providing them better marketing support. Those people who are engaged in these MSMEs, they should get the latest skills as well. And MSMEs should try to produce those goods which are having a huge international demands. The fourth is strong infrastructure push. Might be you all where in many times in my class also I'll say this thing: the development of a nation depends a lot how infrastructure is developed. So if India actually wants to become a developed nation, apart from improving the standard of living, apart to improve the numbers and GDP, we also focus on developing infrastructure, because this infrastructure reduces the gap between urban and rural areas. And if this infrastructure get developed, especially through multimodal logistic parks, it will also promote the foreign direct investment in our nation. It also enhances ease of doing business. And apart from that, our domestic manufacturers will be able to sell their products in the country as well as in the international market. The fifth is long-term energy security. Why this long-term energy security is also essential? As you all are aware of that, with rising population, there's a huge demand of energy things, and India need a proper energy security as well. So to get this proper energy security, India is focusing on accepting this green hydrogen mission. Apart from that, focusing on renewable energy through International Solar Alliance, or focusing on National Solar Mission. Also, we had a target to have net zero carbon emission by 2070. All these things require a proper energy security plan. And last is development of city economic region. City economic region means all those areas that are where the employment driven sectors in the city, or in the overall proper utilization of resources in the city, so that it will enhance the standard of the people, standard of the living of the people, and also provide them basic amenities. So this is the first kartavya, that is accelerate and sustained economic growth. If we talk about the second kartavya, it talk about the fulfilling aspiration and build capacity. In this second kartavya, I am very much impressed with this particular inspiration, because if a country is on the path of development, it is quite essential that whatever the who are the citizens of this country, their aspirations also need to get fulfilled. Because if a particular citizen is thinking that okay, my country is going into that path, or the economic growth is this much, what is actually I am getting it out of it. So that is the reason in this second kartavya, the aspirational need of the people need to get fulfilled. And how these aspirations get fulfilled? If the government focus on these core areas like education, skill development. Now, second point is the most important because skill development is essential whenever the foreign companies come to India, and if they are giving any job opportunity to an Indian citizen, they also want how skilled that person is. And that's why Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana or creating of vocational training institutes play an important role here. Third is healthcare. Advanced healthcare is also essential because thus the development of the nation also depend on how healthy the people are. So healthcare basically after this Ayushman Bharat scheme, by providing the secondary and tertiary healthcare in the government hospitals as well as designated private hospitals, it also led to a kind of development of healthcare system. Then tourism, this as we all know, especially tourism is a kind of industry that will provide massive employment, also generate a lot of forex reserve, and also promote the overall development of the nation. Through sports and through creative and cultural economy, we are focusing on involving people in this particular kartavya. Moving to third kartavya, that is sabka saath sabka vikas. Now this is again very important that this kartavya ensure that every region of India, every sector of India, every community of India, all should get an opportunity to participate and to benefit from this economic growth. It should not be creating any kind of inequality that the fruits of success is shared with only percent of the population. So the focus of the third kartavya is that the equality should be promoted and the gap of inequality persist in India need to get reduced. So these are the three kartavya. They are the core of the budget. Now, if we talk about the sector specific things in this budget, let's first start with manufacturing. Why from last, I can say from last 10-15 years, the government of India is focusing a lot on this manufacturing. What is the major reason behind that? We all knew that service sector's contribution in gross value added is very good and phenomenal. Agriculture is providing a good employment opportunities and providing highest share in the employment. But it is the manufacturing sector where India is actually lacking. So India is always considered as a service-based economy. It's not bad to say this thing, but because of huge population and because of huge demand, we are depending a lot on the different countries. So government here is focusing on that how this manufacturing sector need to get developed. And if you see from last 10-15 years, huge policies, Make in India, then Atmanirbhar Bharat, then PLI scheme, and also provide the various kind of incentives to the manufacturing people and manufacturing sector, all these things. So what is special in this year's budget? It is Biopharma Shakti, a 10,000 crore plan is sanctioned for it, Biopharma Shakti. Then India's Semiconductor Mission 2.0, very important. Apart from that, integrated program for textile, because India's textile sector is a kind of huge employment fetching industry, as well as textile will promote our exports as well. Then apart from that, scheme to revive 200 legacy industrial cluster. This is again very important. Legacy industrial cluster means on those sectors in which we have a huge command over, like leather industry, textile industry, gems and jewelry industry. So we are focusing on that. Then development of three dedicated chemical park to enhance domestic production, affordable sports good, and the scheme for rare earth permanent magnet research, mining, processing, and manufacturing. So this is what we are focusing out in this manufacturing component. Now, if we are talking about MSME, it is focusing on three prolonged approach to help MSME grow as champion. Now, what are these three prolonged approach? The first one is equity support, that is providing them a support of around 10,000 crore dedicated SME growth fund, that is small medium enterprises growth fund. Then top up the self-reliant India fund with 2,000 crore rupees to make these MSMEs Atmanirbhar and to fulfilling their credit fund requirement actually. Then professional support, government to facilitate professional institutions to develop corporate mitras, especially in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, to help MSMEs to meet compliance requirement at affordable cost. Usually what happens is sometimes because of not able to know about these compliances and to about these standards, these corporate mitras help the MSMEs to fulfill their compliance requirement, and if there is any kind of input tax credit available, they also get this in that form. And third is liquidity support through trade. What is that? Trade receivable and discounting system. Under this, liquidity support is provided to MSMEs. So if suppose a MSME need immediate fund, with the help of this trade platform, bank provide them funds, and then the central public sector enterprises or PSUs will later give the amount to banks for the products that they had purchased through MSMEs. So that's why MSMEs are called as the growth engine of Indian economy. Because of these things, government is focusing on this three prolonged approach to develop them as champions. Moving ahead, next is human capital and service. Now, what is this human capital and service industry is actually focusing on? Human capital and service industry is focusing on high-powered education to employment and enterprise. Now, what is this human capital and service high-powered education and employment enterprise talking about? It's focus on service sector as a core driver of Viksit Bharat. Now, as you all are aware of this thing, that service sector's contribution in overall gross value added is highest. So government is focusing on that this high powered sector, that is service sector, should not be ignored if we are focusing on lot on manufacturing. That is the reason this high powered education to employment and enterprise is focusing on this Viksit Bharat. And for that, there is a special things for education and gender inclusion, that is establishment of one girls hostel in every district for higher education STEM institution. Then mental health and care establishment of National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. Then upgradation of mental health institute, trauma care center at district hospitals, setting up of National Institution of Design in the eastern region of India, so that those people of eastern region of India shall not be need to come to the other areas, and they should get training in their particular areas only. Then 3 new All India Institute of Ayurveda will be set up, which, and apart from that, upgrading Ayush pharmacies and drug testing lab. Then apart from that, animation and this gaming comic thing जो है, इसके ऊपर भी government is focusing a lot, especially for this creative economy. So animation, visuals, gaming, and this comic thing, the government is focusing on creative economy as well. So this will create a content creator lab in 15,000 school and 500 colleges. Employment potential is it create an employment potential of nearly 2 million professionals by 2030. That simply means this is all a future is. यही तो future है. So that's why government is focusing on this creative economy as well. Then Khelo India mission, a 10-year mission to transform the sport ecosystem, especially focus on talent identification, coaching, sports science, and infrastructure. Then develop 15 archaeological sites into vibrant experiential cultural destination, and development of Buddhist circuit in northeast region, so that our tourism sector also get boosted. Further ahead, talking about the infrastructure, as many times I talk about that this sector is a crucial sector for the development of our economy. So public capital expenditure increased to 12.2 lakh crore. New dedicated freight corridors will be set up. 20 national waterways will get operationalized. Development of ship repair ecosystem. Now, this is very important thing. Actually, India is focusing on the shipbuilding industry as well, because our lots of import is depending on these shipbuildings. India is depending on lot of other nations to export their products from to different parts of world. So our maritime industry is focusing on this ship repair ecosystem as well. And then 5,000 crore allocation is for city economic region for the development of basic amenities and to fulfill the needs of the people. Then we are also focused on 7 high-speed rail corridor, for example, Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Varanasi, Chennai, Bangalore, and many others. Moving ahead, energy and agriculture. Now, as I mentioned about that, with the increase in the population, the energy security is quite essential. So extension of basic custom duty exemption, that means there is exemption of basic custom duty on capital goods for lithium ion batteries, duty exemption for processing of critical mineral. Why? Because these critical minerals import is very high in our economy. So there must be a duty exemptions for them. Third, nuclear power project exemption extended till 2035. carbon capture, utilization and storage scheme of rupees 20,000 crore, and exclusion of biogas value from excise duty on blended compressed natural gases. And for agriculture and allied sectors, there is a launch of Bharat Vistar, integrating artificial intelligence with AgriStack and ICAR. Now, AgriStack is a kind of a thing which include all those things which are providing the benefits to the farmers. So, in AI is integrating with AgriStack and with the launch of Bharat Vistar, focusing on fisheries through Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Sahay Yojana and animal husbandry. And especially for animal husbandry, all these things like development of Gokul mission, Gokul grams, all these are the part of this development of animal husbandry, especially creation, elimination of diseases also. Then promotion of self-help entrepreneurs, SHEMAs. Then financial sector and tax reforms. This is again very important. Government is trying that corporate bond market should get evolved in India, because this corporate bond market will lead to the development of the companies as well as help them to raise funds to the people. So total return swap in bond market, 100 crore incentive for large municipal bond issuance, so that municipalities get developed and people will also get good interest out of it. Setting up of high level committee on banking reforms so that their overall NPAs get reduced, and how the bank's adequacy ratio get improved, how the overall NPAs get reduced. Government should focus on that. How to basically how to increase the capital adequacy ratio. I'm sorry, how to increase the capital adequacy ratio and how to reduce their NPAs. Securities transaction tax on futures increase from 0.02% to 0.05%. That is, STT is for buying and selling of futures, though it is increased to 0.05%. Then in direct tax reform, New Income Tax Act 2005 effective from April 2026, simplified tax rules and redesigned the forms so that overall tax buoyancy will improve. For that, honoring the honest platform, transparent taxation, faceless appeal, faceless assessment, all these things. Then single order for assessment and penalty proceedings. And the last point is very important, tax holiday till 2047 for foreign cloud service provider. This is again very important. Now, talking about the fiscal indicators, fiscal deficit for 2026-27 estimated at 4.3% of GDP. Whereas, what is fiscal deficit? Total expenditure minus total non-debt creating receipts. Okay, that means debt creating receipt is not the part in it. Debt to GDP ratio is at 55.6% and target is to reach around 50% by 2030. The government try to reduce this debt to GDP ratio as much as possible, because if this debt to GDP ratio keep on increasing, you need to pay that interest as well. So the focus is on increasing tax to GDP ratio and reduce this debt to GDP ratio. Talking about the center-state fiscal relation, recommendation of 16th Finance Commission is accepted, whereas vertical devolution maintained at 41%, continuation of Amrit scheme, and 2 lakh crore support is provided to the states under the special assistance for states for capital investment. So all these things are there under the fiscal indicators. Now this is important, deficit trend. So if you see in 2020-23, the fiscal deficit is 6.50% of GDP, which is now reduced to almost 4.30% of GDP. Revenue deficit is 4% of GDP in 2022-23, reduced to 1.50. Primary deficit is 3% of GDP, that is fiscal deficit minus interest payment, reduced to 0.70. And effective revenue deficit, that is revenue expenditure creating capital assets, is reduced from 2.80 to 0.30. Now this is again very important. Rupee come from? Might be in UPSC prelims, they will ask this question, how 1 rupee come to India? So what is the contribution of 1 rupee and what are the different ways through which it come? So the first thing is that borrowings and liability, this is the first where we get the maximum share. Second is through income tax. Third one is through corporate tax. And fourth is through GST and other taxes. You should remember these top 4 from where the 1 rupee come: 24%, 21%, 18% and 15%. Then where the 1 rupee goes, the first is state share of taxes. This is the first one. Second is interest payment, 20%. Third is central sector scheme, that is 100% borne by the central government. and the fourth one is defense because of recent issues. So these are the ways through which rupee goes to will be calculated. And if we talk about the expenditure of major items, where the major expenditure is being done, first is transport industry. Maximum amount goes for this transport industry, followed by defense, then rural development, and for the home affairs. So friends, I hope you all like this particular video. Just remove this. This is not required. You all just like this video, I hope. So in this particular video, we had discussed this whole budget in detail, and I hope you all liked it. If you all liked it, please mention in the comment, as well as do share, subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you and God bless you all.